well as Fast Fits community. And for this month's monthly interview, we are honored to have the British national team fitting coach, Christina Whitlock. And she has also coached at a very high level collegiately in Division II. And so we want to kind of just jump right in and start picking her brain right away about like all the amazing things that she does and the amazing things that she knows. So let's talk a little bit just about your pitching philosophy. What would you say are some of the things that you emphasize with your national players and with your students?
Well, with the national team, because I had a short period of time to get to know these young ladies, just maybe 1 or 2 months before we actually took the field together, I emphasized a strengths approach. I wasn't going to have time to fix any of their weaknesses, so I dove right in to get to know them as people and to identify what their strengths were. So we really went from there. Like, what is mentally, how are you the strongest? Physically, how are you the strongest? And how can we use that to defeat our opponents? And that's the approach we took there. But overall, my philosophy with the catchers and the pitchers is, as well as the rest of any team, the rest of the athletes of the team, is really a whole athlete approach, kind of the mind, body, spirit. I think they all play off each other. And when I had the opportunity to get back into coaching at Division II at a private Jesuit school there in New York, their whole philosophy was also a mind, body, spirit approach to the whole person.
That's wonderful, and I think that's one of the things that we miss a lot of the time as instructors and as coaches. I feel like that people leave out, you have to cross-train and you have to mentally train, because if you're not using that like a muscle, that you're missing a lot of the stuff. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back and do any aspect of your career over again, what do you think you would change in terms of emphasis, or what do you think you would do differently?
On my specific playing career, or when I coach? I probably would have slept better. I think that's one of the things I would have done. I think that it's easy to neglect sleep as a student athlete or just a collegiate student in general. I think I would have slept more, or had a better schedule with sleeping. So that part of the whole athlete, I would have tended to that a little more.
And see, ladies, this is so important, and parents of ladies, this is so important, because sleep is where we recover, of course. So if you're working really hard and you're doing all your reps and you're doing all your cross training, if you're not eating right and you're not sleeping, you're still breaking down constantly. And so I love that. I couldn't agree with that more. That's really phenomenal.
Actually, in my time that I spent with the national team in Europe, that was the really nice thing, was I had an opportunity to share a room with our physio, and just the emphasis that the Europeans put on recovery was really something else. I enjoyed that part of my experience quite a bit, because we have such overuse here in the States, and recovery is like going to the spa, I think. So it can be really quite a nice experience for an athlete if they take time to put into the recovery.
And can you tell us what you feel, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what do you feel is slightly different with like international play versus here? And why do you think international play is becoming more important?
Well, it's becoming important because it's opportunity. It's opportunity for us to grow our sport. It's opportunity for our young women. As far as why is the philosophy different? Or I should say philosophies different? Because it's not just one country, or just maybe 4 regions or 6 regions of the U.S. that are influencing the game. You have various cultures that are influencing the game, and that there brings forth just some fabulous perspectives to sport. And the other thing that I found out, and this was brought to my attention, was, here in the States, it's easy to hang up your cleats, because if you're not playing professional, or if you're not playing with maybe the national team here, a lot of times it's just hang your cleats up and you pursue your career. Whereas in Europe, it was pointed out to me that it's kind of sport is lifelong, and whether you're choosing to play fast pitch or your slow pitch or rugby or whatever it might be, it's lifelong. Sport is lifelong.
And I think that's so important because female athletes in particular, are really given the choice at a certain age. You can either give up your sport completely or you pursue it at the cost of a career and a family. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's a really hard thing, I think, for female athletes to have to do. You're saying, basically, in America, we're saying you can't have both, that you have to choose. And that's really tough.
I think since the most recent national teams, the last time we were in the Olympics, we had many women that proved that you can do both. They found the way to have the family, to have a national career or a pro career along with that. So we do have those examples. We just haven't highlighted it as much as we can. And I think that we can take that approach of how can we do both? That's my personality. I was like, well, can't I just have both? So I think, however, I was one of those women that did hang up my cleats to start a family. So that might be one of my regrets, that I wish I would have continued doing both.
It's hard. Like anything in life, it's hard to balance everything. You have to schedule well. You have to wear a lot of hats. But I do want to talk a little bit about your coaching at a Division II level, because I think coaching at a Division II level, I mean, we were just talking earlier about how many opportunities there are for athletes at a Division II level, and how, I mean, the level of competition at Division II has gone up so dramatically over the last several years.
Well, we're developing more athletes. And so years ago, I had a chance to speak with Sue Enquist, and we were just talking about how our athletes they're just so much more fine-tuned than they used to be. So as a whole, we are developing much, much better athletes. So it's only natural that the athletes in the different levels, or the lower divisions, are going to develop. I know when I coached Division II, the campaign slogan was "I chose Division II," and they had really made a strong push to market Division II to the athletes because of the opportunity. And you've got stronger conferences that have developed because of that. I had a chance to be in the NE10 and also in the Peach Belt, which are two of the stronger conferences during my time in Division II. And I mean, they can compete with many of the Division Ones. So it's not. You're really kind of starting to see kind of a gray area there between some of your mid majors and your top level D2s. And just the fact that we're providing quality experiences now. The facilities are starting to be better, to develop for Division II, so you can really get this great collegiate feel. It's not like going and playing in a rec field or a high school field no longer. So the facilities are there, the recruiting opportunities for scholarship are there now, and I think Division II offers a lot of spectacular things for our young women now.
And what are some of the things that you would typically look for in athletes when you were recruiting them? Because I think a lot of kids are generally like surprised by coaches' answers. I always ask this for people who have coached collegiately because I think all of you guys have a very unique perspective.
Well, like I said, I have a philosophy of developing the whole athlete. So I want to recruit a young lady who has taken the time to be well-rounded. Because the opportunity to cross-train seems to be limited for our young ladies now, I look to see if they're involved in any other activities, like a student leadership, and as well as any music, all that. Young ladies that have a talent beyond the ball field, those are some of the things. Obviously, work ethic, skill, those are things that I'm going to look for. But one of the newest questions that I like to ask my athletes is, what do you rely on when things don't go your way? What do you rely on when things are just, a struggle or a challenge? What do you do? Who do you rely on? What do you rely on? Because that gives me a sense of where they are with their emotional development as well as their spiritual development, which I think is very key to maturing an athlete to that next level, and maybe just maturing a person in general.
I love that. Guys, I hope you're writing this down, because we've spoken with now several Division I and Division II coaches, And basically, I feel like what all of them have said is they want to see your coping mechanisms when it comes to failure and when it comes to adversity and when it comes to difficulty. And I think that's so important because I do feel that that's something that you can see right away when a kid fails and she's either really tough on herself or she's blaming other people. Those are people that are generally not good for the team as a whole. As you said, because there's that limitation in terms of like that development as a whole person. So I love that, and I think it's something, guys, that you should really take home, and that you should really take to heart, especially when you're at that age where you're being recruited. Super, super important.
Good, strong body language, very confident body language, good discipline over your body language, I think, is also a sign of a mature athlete.
See, now that's another one I totally love. And, if you know Rob Cruz, we've talked a lot before about how you can a lot of the time beat the competition with your body language, just by going out to the field and having that confidence and having the ability to, make your mistakes look not that important. Those are really, really important things. So
absolutely.
This has been wonderful. Are there any specific things that you feel that pitchers specifically really need to emphasize, or that you see that they're lacking more now, or that they need more focus on?
Well, since we were just talking about the body language, I think, we struggle really to call a game because, we've gone to the bands, or maybe the game is actually being called from the dugout. Well, that was something that we did a little bit of both while we were at the national tournament. The European Cup in Italy, between the coach calling and the player calling. But what I realized was learning to read the batter, okay? And the batter, because the batter's not, you may have a very consistent batter, but you may also have one that before, during, and after her at bat gives you clues to how to pitch her the next time, or the strategy to use next time. So it's not just about calling pitches when you're reading a batter. You are reading that body language, that composure. You're looking for the subtleties that give way to that batter's weakness in that moment. And so teaching the girls how to truly, truly read a batter it's important.
So that's great, and that brings up another really important point about how some people feel that, now that kids are coached from a very, very young age, that they almost lose a little bit of their intuition, of that athletic intuition, because they've been coached since 8 or 9, and they're always looking to that external force. Yeah. But I love that. What's a good way that you would start someone to read how to beat a batter?
Well, you can work from the ground. You can work from the ground up with just simple things like positioning. Where are they in the box? And then you can work as also just their composure. What do you see? Does this seem like a confident batter? Teaching them to read not just the physical traits of where's the hand position, where they are in the box, pulling the head, those kinds of things, but teaching them to read the facial expressions, and the little things, shrugging the shoulder, rolling the eyes. Are they overly aggressive, or are they tentative? Those kinds of things. Are they an emotional hitter? That, pointing those out. I really, truly like to teach my catchers and pitchers, whether it's in practice or in a game, to teach on the go, to be able to point out the teachable moments and make them aware of, hey, look at that. That is what you want to see. That's what you want to look for. Because we can't always simulate those things. So constantly being engaged in the teachable moments as the game unfolds. And explaining that to them, I think that can be very helpful. So that is a good start. The other thing is giving them responsibility and letting them kind of learn the hard way. You're going to call this game, and you're going to learn the lesson the hard way. And that means you're going to be accountable to the decisions you make. Because honestly, at the younger levels, what's the risk? The risk is you're developing a very confident and very reliable player. And then they're not going to have to come to you and say, Coach, what am I doing? They're going to be going, hey, I tried this and this worked or that didn't work. This is what I'm saying. I know that throughout the years we've had the terminology of speak the game or talk the game, and I think that's it's not just you're thinking it as well. So you're allowed, just give them the opportunity to play and not make it so coach controlled.
I love that, because I think that's something that we tend to do sometimes as coaches is we don't want to see our players fail. But like you said, the way you cope with failure is such an important part of your development and how you handle that. I'm going to write a blog about that actually because I love that whole idea. It's like your coping mechanisms. Like, totally wrote that down. Hope you guys are writing it down too and starring it because there's a lot of amazing information in this right now. I mean, you should be saving this video, replaying this video, and definitely replay it in season and before showcases because this is giving you a lot of clues to where you can sort of take everything to the next level. And I know, of course, because your schedule is incredibly busy, that we don't want to keep you here for too much longer. But is there anything else that you'd like to make sure that we get out to our pitchers out there?
Work on developing confidence. I think really taking an interest in intentionally developing your confidence, because ultimately it's a choice. You can choose to be confident in the moment, and I think that a lot of times we think it just is something that's just this lengthy process, and so therefore we give it way too much credit at a development when we can learn to be confident fairly quickly, throughout just an inning or so. And working on confidence, I think, is really key to developing strong-minded pitchers.
Is there a specific thing that you do with your players to make that confidence a little bit stronger, especially in the moment where maybe they didn't throw the pitch they wanted or maybe they just gave up a big hit? Is there something you do to help them get back in there?
One, I use humor in the moment because I think it alleviates things. The other thing is I've tried to develop the skill of giving them the pep talk. That when they struggle to believe in themselves, I'm there to believe in them. I'm also developing my catchers to do that because in the moment that's what's going to help foster and create that the contagiousness of the energy, right? You are being confident for them, and coaching in that positive nature can everybody loves a great pep talk, right? And so I've been trying to really develop that. The other thing is I give them the opportunity to just do 3 simple things. One, tell me what you want to start doing, tell me what you want to stop doing, and tell me what you want to continue doing. And so it just keeps things very, very simple. It's like 3 strikes. I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to do that. So
love
3 things.
That. Oh, guys, save this interview. This is such good information. Yeah, because a lot of us fail to get out of that rut if you're in a game where you gave up a big hit and then you're just, you shut down almost as pitcher. So look at this, how we have humor, how we have, those 3 different questions. I love that. Those 3 different questions. That's great. And if you don't have the type of catcher or the type of coach that might be giving you a good pep talk, I still think that's the type of thing that you can do for yourself internally at times, or sometimes you could say to your catcher, like, hey, is this a skill you can develop for me? Because sometimes I'm going to need this a little bit.
I think another skill that's good when you don't have a catcher that might be able to pull you out of that, or even maybe a coach that can, learning to develop the positive perspective to pull any good out of a situation. What's the good that can come from this? What's the good? I mean, maybe you just gave up that bomb, but you're like, hey, it's a fresh start here. The good that's going to come out of this is I work better against this batter than the previous one. So learning to pull the positive out of whatever scenario it is also a great tool to develop as well.
That's right, because then at least you know what not to throw her next time.
Yeah, learning what not to do is also a good thing.
Because that's the whole thing. We do have to be, because there's that whole idea of everything is the lens through which you see the world. I had this conversation with my business coach the other day, and he brought up an awesome point, which is he said, people always say, oh, I'm having a bad day, or I'm having this or that. It's like the day is agnostic. The the day, you impart meaning to the day, and even if something, supposedly bad happens, if that's a teachable moment or if that's a moment you can learn from, it's no longer bad. It's that lens through which you see things, and I think that that's just like you just drove that home right there. That's just wonderful. Oh, I can't wait to see the response.
One of the other terms that I use is better as you go, that no matter where we are in the game, we are going to get better as we go. And that seems to put a little bit of a positive spin on things.
I know, that's why I wish I was still playing like right now, because I feel like that, right? Don't you feel like that? Like, oh man, if I could play now, knowing everything I know. But this has been amazing, and I just, so many wonderful things, guys. This is one of those interviews where you need to listen to it a couple times. You need to take some notes. You need to look at how you can apply these principles into your play and into your daily life. And oh my God, I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we'll stay on for just a second afterwards, just so we can say toodles. But Flawless Fast Pitch, listen, they're doing some fundraising still. So if you could just direct us to any place where people can help you out with your fundraising efforts.
Well, we are currently reviewing the resources that we are using. Our last campaign ended, and as soon as we have decided on what resource we're going to be using, I will get that information to you. I'm sorry I didn't have it for you today.
No worries. Any place where you would like us to follow you? Twitter, Facebook?
I know that the British Softball UK is part of the federation, like Facebook, and I believe they've got a Twitter and Instagram. But it's BSUK, and then just you can write in British Softball Federation, and all the social media stuff will come up as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are so honored to have you here today. And ladies, of course, stay tuned for next month too, because we'll have more good stuff coming at you.